It's election season for city government, and you want to cast an informed vote. One Ogden is here with the voices and faces of the people stepping up to represent you. Bart Blair is a candidate for Ogden City Council at-large seat B.
I loved it here. I grew up here. My family, my parents, my grandparents, and I believe my grandparents' all lived in this area. So there's, back then, there was a lot, it was different. Weber High was closer into Ogden too. So that, we've got a bunch of people that graduated from either Ogden or Weber High. And then my grandpa started a business in I want to say in the mid-50s. I think mid-50s. So we've had a business here, and so we've all stayed here, and that was kind of, I don't think I ever wanted to leave Ogden. I think there was a part of me that was like, I'm not going to stay at this business. But yeah, it was never leave Ogden. When I got married, the Ogden I knew, I grew up on Swan. Swan's in between 22nd and 23rd, just about in between Polk and Taylor. Great area. I went to Taylor School and then went to I went to Central Middle School and then Ogden High. It was great. We lived right there at the canyon. It was wonderful. We could go up in the foothills and ride our bikes all the time. We could go hiking and walking up there. We were close to everything, so it was perfect. When I got married in 1995, the Ogden I knew was this little box, right? This little geographic box. And so we were like, let's buy a house here or here or here. And either they were too expensive or they needed too much work or whatever. It just didn't work out. And so we moved out of Ogden, and that lasted like just over 2 years. I'm like, I got to get back. Because I spend every day here. Everything I do is here. And I just rather be here. And I was taught when I was real little, my grandparents and my parents we always shopped in Ogden. Everything we did was in Ogden. My grandpa used to have a saying, I want my money to come back to me. If I go get a haircut in Ogden, then that guy's going to come buy gas from me. And so I felt that too. I felt like, well, I spend all my money, all my tax money in Ogden. I'd rather live in Ogden. So, so I've never wanted to leave. I did for a minute, but I'm back.
And what's your professional background?
I said I didn't want to stay at that business, but I went to college, did some things that way, was in banking, did that for a little while, finance for a little bit, and then right around, it was 1999, Y2K, I was in banking, and there was this big scare, Y2K, remember everything was going to shut down at the year 2000, and so I got lured away to go do like computer programming for banks, for financial institutions, make sure that they were Y2K compliant, and it was interesting. It's just not it's a lot of cubicle work. It's a lot of being alone, and it's just not me. And about that time, my family had an old gas station and car wash and service center that they had basically built. So I'm cinder block everything, and it was falling apart, and the state came in and said, you got to make some upgrades. It's not up to code. And so we decided as a family to bulldoze that and create a new one. And so was great. We owned the land, and we stayed right where we were at. So in 1999 we built, we have gas, a convenience store, an auto shop, and then a car wash. And so I stayed on the convenience store and gas side. That's mine. And then my dad wanted to stay in the mechanic side. So I've ran that since 1999 and owned that. So that's what I do.
So you solved Y2K.
I mean, it was a lot of hoopla for nothing, right? It was all hands on deck. That whole after Christmas, when everyone else is taking off, he's like, nope, we're gonna, because who knows what's gonna happen, and nothing. Everything worked smooth, so it was great.
And how long have you been on the council?
This is my 16th year. I've been on for 4 terms.
Wow. Okay.
So, which Yeah, it's just gone by super fast. Doesn't seem that long, but when I say it, I can't believe it's been 16 years.
Right. And do you feel like, what you were doing with the store helped prepare you for city council?
I think the most, my experiences with our store helped me in different ways than I thought. Number one, I understood kind of budgets and how you budget things and how you kind of put money in different areas to make sure that you've got things covered for things coming down the pipeline. I think that was one of my biggest. I understood that. That was something. The budget by itself is very complicated, but I always felt like I understood. Okay, this is the money we have. This is the projects we have. We can't always borrow and we can't always do this. But let's try to figure out ways to kind of put money aside and work towards paying those. That helped. I think another thing that probably was the easiest transition was at the store. People like to call it cheers. People come and talk to me. They like to talk to me, whether it's to tell me a problem, tell me what they did last week, whatever. People like to come in, spend 15, 20, 30 minutes, and we talk. We catch up and we talk. And there was a time when I thought, things are going well here. Maybe I'll start taking some time off. Maybe I'll not come in the mornings or do this. And it became evident that people come here to see me. They don't come here to see my employees. They come here to talk to me. And I feel like that was critical also on city council. People don't want to call the city when they have a problem. People don't want to call the city council office when they have a problem. People relate me with the city and they know I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to go talk to that person and then hopefully they'll get it taken care of. So that was another big similarity that I noticed. People loved coming and calling, texting, whatever. Whenever someone has a problem, they like to think, okay, I've got someone I can talk to, or an issue or whatever, and that was always real great. Is because I was used to that. I was used to listening to people and hearing people and understanding where they're coming from, and so that was those two things probably helped me the most. I think a third was I got at our store. I'm able to see residents from all different walks of life, and that helped my perspective also. I because I represent the whole city, it helped me to understand not everybody's facing the same challenges, not everybody has the same problems, or not everybody has the same concerns. What's a big deal to some might not be a big deal to others in different parts of the city. So I'd say those three things helped me the most.
And what would you say first inspired you to run for city office?
My grandparents have always talked about giving back and serving in the community you live in. So that was always key. Growing up, I always did. I sought out leadership opportunities with school and clubs I was in and that kind of thing. So I wasn't scared to do it. And then I had a friend that was kind of more involved in a bigger scale of politics, more Salt Lake area. But we road tripped one year, and I just said, hey, how would I even get involved? And we spent that whole road trip talking about how to get involved, why to get involved, what that looks like, and I came home and there were some things that I thought, well, these are important to me. I'm gonna fight for it, and that's what got me involved at the beginning. So,
excuse me. And did you ever consider like state or federal office?
I've never considered it. I feel like my business is here, my family's here, I live here. It feels like I want to make an impact in the community I live in, right? And I'm not saying I couldn't do that at another level. I just felt like I was more connected to the people I serve here, and I just, yeah, I've never thought about that. I like where I'm at.
And what was the thinking deciding to run for another term?
There was a lot. I didn't think I would. I ran for mayor and lost, obviously. And a lot of people reached out, and which was great. And it's almost like, we're glad you didn't win, so we can keep you on the council. And then when it started getting closer and closer, people kept calling and, hey, how do we, you're going to run for council, right? And I thought, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And, yeah, I don't know. And I feel like I'm in a great spot with the city council and the administration. Both kind of look to me as they kind of lean on me with my experience and I don't know if wisdom, but the knowledge I've gained, which is great. I've had more conversations in the last 2 years with the administration than I did previous. Mayor Nadolski and Mara have been very good to reach out and ask for my opinion, ask for ideas, ask for gauging support and that kind of thing. Like, what do you think this looks like? And which has been great. I've enjoyed kind of being a sounding board for them, but I've also enjoyed kind of being a leader for the council too. Like, hey, what are some things we want to do? We have a unique opportunity right now to kind of get some things that we want done. And I think, I say this all the time, but I think we're at a great spot right now. I think with the opening of Marshall White Center, I knew it'd be busy. I knew it'd be a big hit. I didn't think it would be this big. I didn't think it'd be this busy. I didn't think the ripple would reach out as far as it has. I'm just so excited. And when we first built that, our first decided to go down that road, that was kind of what we thought was, we want to build this, but is there an appetite to do something on the north end? And we thought, well, we'll kind of wait and see. And I think based on what we got now, I think for sure, with the addition of Wonder Block and what we've got going on downtown, I think there's great momentum. I think we're at a good spot to get ready for the Olympics that are coming to Utah again. And you can't have those conversations in 2030, right? You have to have them now and get ready. And I think we're in a good spot to have those conversations. So there's a lot. And then there's some things we want to get pushed through, like we've been pushing for a financial sustainability or financial plan, like a 5-year plan that kind of lays things out. And this administration is willing. They're not. There's back and forth, and it's not like they just said, sure, go ahead and design it. But there's a lot of conversations to be had, and we've been talking about it for so long. It's neat to be able to sit down and have those conversations and kind of map out where we are, where we want to be, whenever you add, even giving an employee raises, that money, we've got to account for that money, not just this year, but every year from here on out, right? And how does that look? What does that do? What ripples, what effects does that have? And how do we, and I think a financial plan, a 5-year financial plan that's constantly changing and we can adapt, kind of lets us know kind of where we're at and where we can invest and make some changes, or where we need to tighten our belt and save some money for future projects. So
yeah. What are some of the issues that you think are maybe on the top of voters' minds right now?
For sure, affordable housing. Affordable housing is always the number one topic, and it's a big topic because it affects everyone. There's two sides to that coin, right? It affects everybody in the city, and it's bigger than just Ogden City. It's not an Ogden City problem. It's not a Utah problem. It's everywhere. Everything's rising. The costs are always rising. Ogden's a little different because we're a little bit landlocked, so lack of developable land. also makes it tougher. And Ogden, I think people are realizing this is a great place to live. People are choosing to come here, where I think 15 years ago people were choosing to leave, and actually people now are actually choosing to come here. And so as a city council member, I have certain tools. I have certain things that I can control. Zoning and planning and permitting and different ordinances that we can kind of set some parameters to allow for all different housing types, but also with the budget too. We oversee the budget, so I'm able to, when I say I mean the 7 of us, not just me, but we're able to put money aside and to either create new plans or fund plans that allow people to buy a home in Ogden or stay in Ogden, and which is great too. But the key is providing multiple housing types and multiple housing options. It doesn't do the city. It doesn't benefit us, or it doesn't benefit our residents if we continue to focus on one type of housing, whether that's multi-million-dollar homes or low income. And to find a way to pepper multiple housing options together also is key, because studies have shown, and I think we do a great job of it here within the city, of those neighborhoods and those communities are more sustainable, and they last longer, rather than building a block of high-end homes or a block of low-income housing. The more we can kind of mix those in together, and so affordable housing is always a big one.
It's got to kind of feel like decisions you guys made years ago, as far as bringing in more affordable housing, are just now paying off or about to pay off.
Yeah, for sure. I think another one. I'm trying to think what I was just gonna say. Our aging infrastructure. We have old infrastructure, and when I first got on the city council, I mean that was a while ago. But when I first got on, that infrastructure hadn't even been addressed. It just, because when you only have a certain pot of money, just like if I opened my wallet and I only had $5, or if I had my family budget and we only had so much money, it's hard. You want to do things that are maybe more, people think are more pressing or more bang for your buck. And for some reason, that infrastructure and the infrastructure repairs and upgrades just kept getting kicked down the road. And it got to a point where we just couldn't do it anymore. And nobody comes here and says, "Oh, I'm so glad we have pipes that aren't leaking anymore." But I mean, we replaced the pipeline down the canyon, and they were so eroded and rotten. We were losing 1 million gallons of water a day. 1 million gallons of water a day. And I mean, that obviously helps with our water quality, but it also helps us eliminate that waste, right? We don't have enough water to be wasting 1 million gallons a day. So things like that. I think infrastructure. We have a lot of trees in Ogden, which create havoc for sidewalks. So that's another one. And a couple others. I think Union Station is at an important point in history right now. We've always owned Union Station. We just bought the land that Union Station sits on. That was a big step. So now we're able to decide what we can do there and what we can't do. And we're having discussions now about what that looks like. What do we want to do with Union Station? What do we want to add? What do we want to bring down to that block or plaza, if you will? What does that look like? I think there's a lot of people. I think I don't know if I've had the opportunity to sit and interact more with our seniors at Golden Hours, and I'm blown away with all that goes on there, and the following and the support that we get from our seniors in our community. I think it speaks volumes to our city that other communities closed down their senior centers, right? And Ogden City didn't. We doubled down. We put more funding towards it. Last fall, I was able to go on a hike, which is great. I always thought, when I first went to the senior center, I thought, well, I don't want to play bingo and I don't want to knit, but it's so much more. They play pickleball and they're very good. They beat me. Every one of them beat me, and it wasn't even close. They're very active and they need somewhere to go. They want something to do. Like I said, we went hiking up near Snow Basin. We went and hiked up there, and then they go on bike rides. They go on field trips. They do, and it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I think that's another one. We've got Golden Hours is an old building, and at some point, and as our numbers continue to grow, we're gonna have to figure something out for that too. And I mean, the seniors, in all honesty, were the first ones to come and tell us that Marshall White Center was failing. If it wasn't for them, I don't know. I think it would have been years before, but the seniors came in and said, we'd like to go to the pool and do water aerobics, and that pool is failing. And that's what started the ball rolling. So I think taking care of our aging community also is a big one.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so now a chance to maybe highlight some good stuff in the community. First, maybe just some people, organizations that you think are really having an important impact.
Oh, there's so many. I have a soft spot. I knew Rob Hall growing up. I did a lot with Rob Hall and Youth Impact. I love the legacy that Rob Hall has left with Youth Impact. I love to see what they do, or I love to see the service they provide for our youth. Last night we were at the rodeo, and the Boys and Girls Club was there, and they got to go out and waved everybody and do a little activity at the rodeo. I think the Boys and Girls Club is great. I think Ogden Can. I think Head Start is wonderful. That they're down at the new Marshall White Center now. Yeah, there's so many. I think the Utah League of Women Voters does a great job. They have a great following. So there's so many, and it's wonderful. I think it's what makes Ogden unique, is there are people that are willing to put their money where their mouth is and create something that I can't remember what Disney movie it was, but it was, see a need, fill a need. And I think I don't have the statistics to back it up, but I think Ogden does that better than anybody. I think people of Ogden see a need and they just quietly put their head down and fill a need, and I think it's remarkable. So there's so many, and I'm sure I've left some out, and there's big ones, but I think Goal Foundation's phenomenal. What they do with the marathon and the events they put on, I think, and then all the things that they give away, all the charity work that they do. I help coach Little League basketball now, and Goal Foundation provides shoes to help out. Goal Foundation provides shoes to senior citizens. So there's so many. There's so many.
It's a high pressure question.
Yeah.
This one too. What about your favorite local businesses as a local business owner?
There are numerous. But I've always loved, I loved Javier Chavez at Javier's. Mm-hmm. I think his story is phenomenal. I love that he has stayed in Ogden, that he continually finds ways to give back. I love that he is always smiling and he's happy and wants to help whoever he can. I noticed last night he actually donated the food at the rodeo, which is incredible. I've always been impressed. And the other two are close to me because they're close to our business and I kind of have a lot of access to them. Dan Daly and his wife, I think it's Susie Daly, they own Grounds for Coffee. And I think they are just salt of the earth, quiet. They come in our store all the time. And you wouldn't know that they owned anything. They are quiet. They never beat their chest or say anything about what they're doing, and they do a lot. not only on the corner of 30th and Harrison, but throughout the city. And so I've always been super impressed by them. And then next door, I always thought it was the Dailies that owned Taboo, but it's not. It's actually Jeremy Holmes and his wife, and I forget her name. But Taboo Pizza is always one of my favorites, and I love that it's started here, and I love that they've had success up there, and that they have now branched into downtown. And I just love everything that everything they stand for. They serve Ogden. To me, they were raised, or they were taught the same way I was taught. I know a lot of people think owning a business is wonderful and you can work whenever you want and show up whenever you want. And it's the complete opposite. Owning a business means you work more than anyone else, and you're the one that's on call 24/7. And I've never gone into Grounds for Coffee or Taboo Pizza and not seen the owners there. And or Javier's. I just love that they are, even though they've had great success, that they still continually work and serve our community every day. So those are three of my favorites. There's dozens and so many wonderful people. Those are in my little circle, right? Where I'm at and stuff. Those are three important ones to me.
Great. Okay, last thing, just how do people get a hold of you or find more about your campaign? What's the best way for them to do that?
When I very first ran for city council all those years ago, we sent out a mailer, and it said, Ogden's most accessible council member, because you could come to our store anytime, right, and talk to me. I'm always there. So that's always an option. I'm always at 30th and Monroe inside our store, and I'm always available. I don't have a giant Facebook presence. It's a rabbit hole that I struggle. I get in there, and I do have a presence. You can find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram. I have a website, www.votebartblair.com, and the email's the same, votebartblair@gmail.com. And those are the best, probably through the website. My phone number, 801-388-1517. You can call me. People call me all the time. But I'm always, like I said, I'm always at 30th and Monroe, and you can always stop in or send me a message or send me an email, and happy to respond.
Go to oneogden.com to view written responses to candidate questionnaires from all the municipal candidates we've interviewed, and to find interviews from other candidates in Ogden, North and South Ogden, and Roy. Please share our interviews with your friends and encourage them to cast an informed vote, and subscribe to the One Ogden podcast to hear all the other Ogden stories we've been digging up.